A cool little project an artist can do for themselves is to compile a sketchbook featuring a collection of their works that best represents them. And sometimes these artists would sell these sketchbooks at cons, at artist alleys, at expos, or just digitally. And they can just contain little sketches, little works in progress, or early versions of thought processes for future final pieces. But as someone who also animates and just makes little animations, treating it as little sketch sessions, I wondered, can we make a sketchbook equivalent for animators? Not a demo reel, because demo reels usually contain their best work so they can find work, but a sketchbook that just contains animators just sketching, having fun, showing off abandoned projects. Stuff that's not meant to be shown in the best light. And that's why I've been sort of working towards an animated sketchbook. Hey guys, it's Toniko Pantoja, and today I want to talk about this little side project that I've been working on. This was a project that I just came up with on the spur of the moment when I was just compiling things together, which is an animated sketchbook. You might be asking, what does that mean? And it's really just a digital sketchbook. But each page of that sketchbook is basically a movie file that just loops for about 10 seconds. And they mostly contain loops of animation, little animation practices that I did, or even notes that I made when I was trying to study and learn something in animation, or something else in general. So each page has this template that represents an animation sheet with peg holes, and this is really just for aesthetics reason, nothing more than that. It's really just to make it immersive in terms of like the whole animation theme. And each page consists of little animation tests and practices that I did over time, little notes that I made for myself, and little things that just don't have a home basically. So the way I'm organizing this is that each of the clips that you see in each of these pages are just set to loop. I actually put them all together in TVPAINT. That's the animation program that I mostly use, but you can basically import footage and make them loop. And none of the clips go in a particular order. Some of these are really old, some of these are pretty new, like pretty recently done. And some of them are just like things that I totally forgot over time and found them throughout my hard drive. So why did I start an animated sketchbook? And there's multiple reasons for this. One being that I have a lot of random animation stuff that I do over time that is just saved in my hard drive, and they're not meant for a short film. They're not meant to be a part of something. They're just a standalone thing. Whether it's me practicing or experimenting with something, it's pretty much just an animation doodle that just needs a second home. I've also compiled a bunch of animation notes that I made for myself that I use when I try to explain certain concepts that I learned over time, and I'd rather just compile them all together in this bigger project. Now, another valuable reason that I also picked up is that I have a lot of projects that I tend to abandon, like projects where I decided, okay, there's no point continuing this, so I'm going to leave it behind. But I also feel like there's a bit of a phantom pain or phantom limb. What I'm trying to say is that it leaves a weird taste in my mouth when I tend to leave things unfinished. For those types of situations, I do understand why I moved forward from them, but it kind of makes me wonder if there's a way to pay tribute or to find a proper way to mourn about these projects. Like acknowledging and showing that these projects have once existed in my life and I've accepted that I have to move on. So it's just a way for me to pay tribute to that. So if you guys have a lot of like stuff lying around in your hard drive or abandoned projects and you want to somehow pay tribute to that, you could do something like what I'm doing, which is this weird animation sketchbook that I have no idea what to do with later on. Now, when I was putting the sketchbook together, it's like being shown a mirror of my younger self and what I was like, let's say 10 years ago or 5 years ago, and where my mind was at when I was pursuing animation or dealing with animation as a medium. Like, a lot of things have changed about myself and a lot of things have changed within my work. I can definitely see the huge improvement in my work, but I can also see where my work took a few steps back. And I'm definitely going to do a whole other video talking about this stuff, but when I was putting this stuff together, I'm realizing that when I see my older work, there was definitely a sense of, wonder and bravery. So I was doing a lot of things out of just sheer will and curiosity, whereas in my future work, there is improvement. I've gotten more economic in my lines and I've gotten more refined in my technique, but I also feel like there were a lot of nuances that I had that came to me naturally. And now that I see my newer work, that nuance has been lost. So I'm trying to re-implement some of that nuance back into my newer work. But the thing is that stuff used to be so natural to me. Now I have to kind of think about it and how do I bring that back? So it's just one of those things where like I feel like there's a price to efficiency. So here's an example. These are some jujitsu studies that I did without reference and based on experience. My experience as an animator, as a storyboard artist, as well as someone who does do grappling sports. The thing is, I've developed a system over time where doing something like this, I'm more confident in how I draw my lines and how I put my shapes down. Now the thing is, I've done grappling studies in the past, and of course I wasn't as experienced with grappling and animation as I am now. And I remember when I was doing these, there was just a lot of uncertainty. Like, I didn't know how things were going to end up. But there's something about my older stuff that has a bit more charm. I don't think the drawings are perfect and there's a lot of inconfident lines, but I think what I'm responding to is certain nuances that I add in the animation. Like, there's a bit more personality, there's a bit more character and acting in the animation, whereas my newer ones, they're just studies and they're just movements. But the thing is, those nuances that I've had back then, those came to me naturally, and those came to me when I was experimenting. I didn't need to think about it. Now, if I want to bring stuff like this back into my newer work, it's something that I have to think about now, which before, it wasn't really a thought. And I didn't really notice this until I started compiling all these studies that I've had, both new and old, all together in this animated sketchbook. And I realized that over time, I was more focused on trying to be more efficient, trying to find a system, and trying to get better at my line economy. Whereas now I can start thinking about being more experimental, I can start being more explorative, and try to add some of those nuances back. But yeah, there's stuff that I really love and miss about my old work, but I also acknowledge that I would never want to go back to that stage just because it's a pastime. But it's kind of interesting to see where my mind was at in certain movements that I was into and how I don't necessarily want to be associated with those trends and movements that I found so cool back then. So, as you can see, I would just practice random stuff or animate random things, and some of these are just notes. They're not meant to be for film, they're not meant to be for cinema, like how a lot of people in the industry love to preach the whole animation is film, animation is cinema. And I've said this before, animation can be used as a tool, animation can just be used as a thought process. It doesn't need to be this big, extravagant thing. And I wanted to use that animated sketchbook as a way to show how I utilize animation more than just something to make films or little cartoons here and there. Something I also want to add is because it has the sketchbook connotation of it, I'm less precious about what I put in there. Like, as you can see, I have a lot of weird roughs or a lot of weird, incomplete, unresolved things, and I'm learning to accept that's fine. Like, I don't know if I would just post this randomly on my social media as its own, but I think like as a sketchbook, because all of them are compiled into this one place, it just makes me feel a bit more comfortable just putting it out there all together. It's just a bunch of scribbles and doodles on a sketchbook. So how would I release a sketchbook? I have no freaking idea. Like, the thing is that I've actually been releasing each of these pages for free on my social media accounts such as Blue Sky, Twitter or X or Instagram. Like, these are just independent posts. Like, each page is just a movie file of an independent post. It's a project that I've just been doing over time and people can see it. Now, in terms of, let's say, other ideas of release, like, I'm actually thinking about starting a Patreon or some subscribe service, and I can make little bits and pieces where I put each page and really talk about what I was thinking about for each doodle or each sketch or each note, and just talk about it as an exclusive thing. I'm not completely sure if I will stop at a certain page if I were to, let's say, publish it or wrap it up. Like, I'm on page 40 or 39, like late 30s or early 40s, I'm not sure. I thought I was going to end at 50. Maybe I'll end there, maybe I'll just keep going. I don't know. It's a thing that I'm still working with. And if you guys have any ideas, let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments or, shoot me some ideas here and there. I will say this, I'm glad that I started doing a project like this because it just made me appreciate all the stuff that I've done over time, all the things I abandoned and refound again, like finding stuff that I lost over time, and just making a format or medium where I'm not afraid to show some of these things, because before there was a certain fear element of even showing some of these things. But I think compiling them together, it's like, oh, all these tests can work in uniform. Therefore, the strength of each page is much stronger. I don't know. But I'm also using this project as a self-therapy for me, where I'm kind of like acknowledging the work that I've done over time, my old self, my new self, and just learning to work with it. I think that's pretty much it. And, I think the benefit of having a sketchbook, even just like a tangible physical sketchbook where you go out and draw, it's kind of meditative and therapeutic when you go out and draw, just because it locks you into the moment and into the present. Whereas I'm someone that loves to overthink about the past and the future. Now, if you're an animator or has stuff that's similar, I highly recommend you try doing this. Not just because of the reasons I just stated, but it's also a very low energy, low cost type of project, and it's something that you can just do over time without having to be so involved. Got like an animation study or practice that you just don't know what to do with it? Well, compile it all together with other stuff that you feel like you don't know what to do with. And I'm pretty sure many animators are quite impulsive. There's a lot of ADHD in our community. And I'm pretty sure you have a lot of like random animation bits that you just started and abandoned. And also, if you just want to add more stuff to your social media with animation work, well, this is a pretty cool, small energy, low cost type of project. So yeah, I think this is a project I'm working on, and I'll definitely show more updates on it. And if you guys think this is a cool project for you to pursue, I'd love to see you guys start a project that's similar to this. I think that would be really cool. I think it'd be really cool for more animators to sort of compile like different pages of work that they've kind of stowed away and somehow brought back to life. Like when I started posting the first few pages, I've gotten a lot of animators say, oh, I'm going to steal this idea. I really like this idea. I have a bunch of shit that I've been, keeping under wraps for ages and I don't know what to do with it. And, I think it's cool that people are thinking like that with their work. Anyways, that's all. Bye. Interested in learning hand-drawn animation or learning how to finish an animated shot from beginning to end? Have a look at the store where you'll find the complete Introduction to 2D Animation video course, tutorials, and other resources. Learn classical animation approaches, drawing, lectures, techniques, and other process videos. Visit the store through the link in the description below.